Commission meeting to order on Wednesday, September 16th, 2020 at 4:03 p.m. The next item is the agenda. Do I have a motion to amend or adopt the agenda?
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
Do I have a second? Anybody?
Second.
Oh, Jeff seconded that.
Oh, okay. Item number 3, public forum. I see Ollie down there. Would you like to speak to the commission?
No, thanks. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine.
I'm a relatively new Vermonter.
Okay.
Great.
Hey, Ollie, this is Gene Richards. I did get your note and we would love to give you a tour. So
Thank you.
That's my most favorite thing in the world. Nick Longo and I, we get a little crazy on our tours, but we really love it. And we love every time we go out there, it's a little different. So whenever you're good, just reach out and we will look forward to giving you a tour.
Thanks a lot. I'm in Tel Aviv right now, but I'll be back in November.
2 weeks after that, we look forward to it. No.
2 weeks at least.
Exactly.
Right. All right. Moving on to item number 4, 4.01, Marie, financial package report.
Well, hello, everybody. Good to see everybody. I'll just go through the highlights on the financial report and am happy to take questions either along the way if you have them or as we go through this or at the end, however you're most comfortable that can work with me. So I wanted to point out that we did get the $8.7 million in the CARES Act grant. We got that in May. We drew down to about a little less than $2.3 million that was to go toward our expenses for our previous fiscal year that ended in June. And the remaining funds are carrying and being bringing into the new fiscal year 2021. So we drew down about $422,000 for July expenditures, and we also drew down $630,000 to reimburse for August expenditures. So we're trying to do that on a monthly basis, is to look and see, primarily it's exclusively like salaries. We have other operating expenses like our janitorial expenses, just to give you some idea of the kind of expenses. And it's a really good thing for us. It's really helping both our revenues. It helps to offset the expenses that we have for those revenues that are much, much lower. And we'll talk about that as we go through. So it's been a very big help so far. Our debt coverage score for July came in at 1.56. That does include that money I told you about, that $422,000. It would have been remarkably lower if we didn't have that money coming in to help us with our July expenditures. The revenues in July, I wanted to give you a sense of how COVID and how the change in our employments is affecting our revenues. So compared to July of the previous year, our total revenues were down $764,000. So that's pretty significant hit reduction, we should say, that we're seeing. And I want to point out the biggest revenues that were affected, again, are affected by the number of passengers that are coming through. So parking garage was $400,000 lower. Our car rental concessions are usually so strong in the summer. We usually have a lot of people flying in, renting cars and traversing the state and, you know, spending their monies here, and that isn't happening. So those also saw a pretty big reduction, as well as the related CFC funds. The expenses year to date, we were just under $800,000 for the month of July. So it's running pretty much on par with the prior year. We're trying really, really hard to spend only on those things that we need to spend on. But we did have some items that we were due to the timing of wanting to get things done on the runway or other such things. We had some things that were safety related or FAA related. So we continue to make sure that we're looking at the best interest of the airport as we spend all of these monies. The AIP receivable was just about $2.5 million in that number I'm showing you as of August 31st. We had some pretty large payments that we made in August that were related to the taxiway G Gulf and the apron phase 6. And I'm happy to report that these monies have come back into the airport. In fact, today we got a $1.8 million reimbursement from the FAA. So those are getting reimbursed pretty quickly. As fast as we're spending it, we turn them around and upload them. We do not owe any money right now on the grant anticipation note. We have it available, but we don't have anything that we owe on it currently. I'm reiterating that we took out the revenue anticipation note back in May, which is why you'll see that on our cash report, our airport operating bank account is much higher than we would typically see it, but that's a good thing. We're not spending the money. You know, we have it and it's there if we need it, but we're holding our own. So our cash was almost $15 million, and we do not owe any money to the city at the end of August. That I'm also showing as the end of August. So you'll have your, trying to lower my sheet here. My computer's being a little slow. So then you've got all of the individual statements, including the revenue and expense statement. I'm not seeing that on here. Did I blow past it? Maybe. Okay. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Maria, I have just 2 questions for you. The first is, I would have expected to see the August financials in here instead of the July financials. Is that because they're still underway? Usually we see the prior month
Right. So you're correct, Tim. In the past year, I used to always report, you would have always seen, like for this month, you would have always seen July. And then I really was able to feel pretty comfortable estimating a lot of the revenues. I would have to estimate our concessions and other such things. They do not report to us until maybe the 20th of the month after. And so given with COVID, we have such variability going on in some of those revenues right now. I thought it was a little bit risky to estimate when we really don't have as good of a sense of what those numbers are going to be. There's too much variability happening right now compared to the prior year. And so I felt comfortable putting forth and knowing that these are actual numbers. These are not estimated numbers, but in the past, last year, when you got your statements, I was able to estimate with pretty good accuracy. I can't do that as well right now. So I apologize for not having the finger on the pulse as well on that. But I mean, we're keeping track of it and we have a good sense, but to put that out there publicly I felt a little more uncomfortable with that.
Okay, sure, that's a reasonable explanation. It was just different from what I've customarily seen. So I just wanted to check in on that.
Yeah, and that's why the cash statement and the AIP receivable, those are really fixed numbers. Those don't change. What you have in your bank, you have in your bank. So those are quite easy for me to produce and show you what we have at the moment.
Okay. And then my other question is on the debt coverage score. So we've established that the CARES money, we can use that within the formula that the bank uses to see if we've violated or covered or not, correct?
We should be able to. I've spoken in depth with our auditors about this. And the main reason is we are using specific invoices and payroll, things that are already 100% operating expenses. And so this grant is actually coming in as an operating grant. So we've had a lot of those discussions. We'll continue having those discussions, but it shouldn't be, it should be classified as operating expenses. If I was buying equipment that was a fixed asset and non-operating expense, that would change how I could show the money on this particular worksheet. Does that answer your question?
So it seems like we haven't got a formal ruling on it, but we have every reason to believe that we can include the CARES money in the formula.
Yes, And the
Okay.
auditors have agreed with me that this is operating, it's an operating grant. So it would be included if we show it, it's perfectly reasonable and probably the best accounting treatment to show it as an operating, show it separately, but show it as an operating revenue, grant revenue.
It's highly likely it's all right. I mean, in today's environment, I wouldn't be surprised if anything came up. So, but it's consistent, you know, with what we're doing and what we believe is a good practice. It's certainly not out there, and so we think we're in good standing. But you know, just like everything else that's currently going on in the world, there are no guarantees on anything on what's going to change. But I feel really good about it. I feel very good about Marie's practices and what she's doing and what the rest of the team have. You know, the way that we have decided to move forward, I think we're protecting ourselves in a good way.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you, Jean.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions from any other of the members?
Thanks, Marie.
Thank you, Marie.
You're welcome.
Larry, you're up at 4.02 for a construction update.
Okay, I'm going to be very quick today. We went through all this very thoroughly a couple of weeks ago in our last meeting with pictures. So I'm just going to give the highlights as Marie did. The last portion of phase 6 of the apron reconstruction is underway as of yesterday, and we anticipate that finished before winter. Taxiway golf realignment, even with all the setbacks we've had this summer, it should be finished by the end of this construction season. We opened up the largest portion of that project yesterday. We will complete out the final phases over the next couple of months. Hotel, there was a DRB meeting last night. It got continued into October meeting for landscaping. Terminal integration project, I wrote in the, which is the terminal expansion, the consolidation of TSA. I wrote that our RFP, our proposals are due on October 7th. It's actually been moved back to October 14th, and it appears we might have 2 additional proposers. So we're potentially up to 4 on that now. We received the grant for the new security system upgrade. I'm working on the contracts right now, so we should start the first part of October. A couple months ago, we did a an application to the TSA for a new inline baggage screening system behind the airlines check-in, and it appears that they put that in their TSA budget as of this coming October 1st. So I have RFPs out that are due, I believe it's October 16th, for proposals from consultants to do that design. It's a design-only grant with the anticipation that we will get prices for construction and apply for that next fiscal year, or federal fiscal year, October 2021. The South Apron Remain Overnight area, we received a portion of the grant we applied for that, which construction will start in the spring. Chamberlain School, and Nick's going to elaborate more on these noise-related ones. We did receive the grant for the improvements, which is a 100% grant for the HVAC improvements for the Chamberlain School. The noise monitoring equipment, we received the grant. We're working out the contracts and agreements now to get that moving forward. And that's all I have. Anybody have any questions? I know that was quick, but it's very exciting. We've got a lot done. We see a lot more to do, and it's going to be another busy year next year.
Larry?
Yep.
Can you give a quick update on Beta and also Heritage? You know, just real light.
Sure. As everybody knows, both Heritage and Beta are planning large-scale expansions of their hangars. In Heritage is case, that's more hangar space and some office space. They've made it through the DRB with South Burlington over the last couple months, and they're ready to complete out the rest of their permitting process. I haven't spoken to Heritage lately. I'm not sure when they plan on starting construction, but hopefully next year. Beta it went through South Burlington DRB and finished up about last month. And with their expansion, which includes labs, training areas, and office space, which is a very large expansion to the north hangar, they completed that. So we'll just continue to work with both those groups to move those projects forward.
I have a question about the HVAC at the Chamberlain School. And I'm just curious, since, you know, the conversation always is, well, are the filters and is the system up to par with COVID-19? So I'm just curious if that's part of it.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think it would add cost, but I don't know.
yeah, it could. I can't speak to the existing, of course, but the design of the new system is not yet fully completed. So we're still going through. We haven't even started the design, in fact, on that system. We've done some preliminary work, and then of course some site visits to start the process. But as we go forward, as best as we can, one, it will be a brand new system, which is better than anything. But two, we'll proceed in a way to satisfy all of the Federal Aviation Administration guidelines, because that's where the funding, of course, is coming from. So we want to make sure that we're satisfying their scope of work requirements, and then add in those additional items, especially working with the school district and making sure that whatever they need is incorporated into the project as needed, especially with the filters.
And I
Great.
would say, Helen,
Thank
one
you.
more thing is Dave and what's the other gentleman, Nick, we meet with?
Gary.
Gary, or I gotta tell you, ridiculously diligent. You know what I mean? The meetings we have are very detailed, and they have pushed hard to get where we are today. And so I feel quite confident, you know, they'll be brought into the specs. It's not just something we're laying out. They're very involved in every move. So, you know, I would encourage you to also reach out to them, but I'm sure they've thought of it, but it doesn't hurt for you to have that information so you can bring it back to your council and even share it with us. I mean, the answer is we don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's, you know, it's $3.5 million, and it's a pretty great opportunity to have 100% money and to be able to make that addition to that school. So I'm optimistic you'll get what you want, but I don't want to certify it.
And Gene brought up a good point. I hope all of you were able to see the press release that went out between us, the city, and our congressional delegation. But this year's grants are, of course, 100% funded because of the CARES Act funding. And that was the first time that we also announced that the Chamberlain School was also 100% funded in the total design and construction. So there is zero local costs associated with that project. And that was the diligence of the mayor's office, as well as the Federal Aviation Administration, making sure that happened. Today was our kickoff meeting for that project. We have quite a bit of work to accomplish, and in fact, there were 2 grants in the entire New England FAA region that were given for design, pre-engineering, essentially is what it's called. We received these grants before getting bids. 2 grants in the entire New England region were given those grants. Both of those went to the Burlington Airport, one for the Chamberlain School and one for the noise monitors, which tells you how confident they are with the airport and us moving these projects forward in a quick manner. With that came some restricted timelines associated with those projects, of course. So we have until February to get these out to bid, get those ready to construct for next summer, which is on track. This is specific to the Chamberlain School, which is on track with our original schedule pre-COVID-19.
And
Just-
next
Well,
time
that's
you-
kudos,
there's-
because you don't get 100% federal money every day.
We've never gotten 100%
Yeah,
federal
I know,
funding.
that's very rarely that you know.
I would
get-
also recommend that if any of you do talk to any of our delegation or email or reach out to them, that you thank them. This is a real, as Jeff just said, it's a real big deal. And I'm happy, Helen, to say that, your folks have been really diligent and passionate. And I won't use the word difficult, but I will say partnership, and we've had a lot of really tough meetings to get where we are. And I can't tell you, between them and Nick, the hours that have been put in. But our delegation was instrumental on making that happen. So if you do have the opportunity to thank them, they get a lot of crap for a lot of what's going on, but at the same time, there's that balance, and they're certainly doing everything they can to help, make it as right can be.
I just have one follow-up question. When you said that I guess the CARES money would supplant what is normally the local share, was that out of the CARES grant that the airport got?
Good
Or is
question.
this other CARES money?
Yeah, good question. No, the 8.7 million is a completely different funding source. So the 8.7 million as part of the CARES Act came to the airport. That was ratioed, allocated across the nation. The additional 10% funding for federal grants is completely separate and in addition to the 8.7 million.
Great. Good enough. Thank you.
Any other questions about our construction schedule? If not, we'll move on to Helen for a South Burlington seat update, if you have any.
Well, you haven't been in our crosshairs lately, so I just don't really have an update, although I did have a question at the last council meeting that I didn't have the answer to. And one was in regards to the Kirby cottages and the, I guess, how Beta Technologies is using them. And the question was, are they subsidizing them? Are they renting them? Or is it part of the compensation package for, I guess you had mentioned it was largely engineers. And maybe you don't know the answer and it's none of your business, but that was the question. I didn't have the answer.
I have the most up-to-date answer to you. So first of all, they haven't owned them very long. And so they are furnishing them, and so that they are available to their employees. And I would say it's a little bit of, they are not renting them that I'm aware of. They're using them as a subsidy to the people who work for them, but they're also, when they have folks coming to visit, they have one unit, I think it's 13, that they use for people who, engineers and different people that visit, so I would say it's typically, somebody related in one way or another to Beta. So outside of Beta, probably not. And that is not the idea. The idea is workforce housing and or related to Beta. And they're really excited about that because people, as all of you know, if anybody's looked for housing, it's really challenging. So for them to be able to have solutions for the people who need them, that are working with them, is a real win. And, I heard a story the other day of one of the folks that, visited, pretty picky, and lived at some pretty good places, and he doesn't want to leave now, so it's a really good thing. So I was pretty happy to hear that. But we're only about 3 weeks into it, Helen. But I would say that, that is their plan based on my conversations with them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is that it?
That's it. We,
Okay.
we haven't discussed the airport recently.
Well, I guess that's a good thing.
So that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah. Director's report, Jean.
Other than COVID and, our numbers being down and we're having financial, challenges, I could not be happier with the team and all the wonderful things that we're doing to take advantage of this time. This team is leveraging every minute to, get more resources for the airport, to finish projects, to really thinking ahead, getting, we have our 2 new multifunction machines for winter. They are just, it's just really great to work with them and, just to stay ahead of it. Marie's helping downtown a little bit right now on a project. And I don't know how she's doing that because she has been busy, busy, busy. Shelby is, and Larry are cross, doing 3 people's jobs, and everybody is just going gun ho, doing extra RFPs and things for the city, and to help out with the COVID-19 issues. And I'm just really, really, really happy. The airport probably hasn't looked this good ever. And, that's really odd because we have a lot of staff members that are home. We're taking care of children. But you know what? Management and the team, everybody's stepping up and just really working hard. I'm very confident, we're going to come out of this in a really good way. We're keeping our relationships up with the airlines. We're doing the very best we can with anybody that'll pick up. And so I'm optimistic. I'm happy. I love the projects. We're going to be in, I guess, we are in super shape. We're going to continue to be in super shape. We still continue to say no to people that are trying to use the airport for public meetings and things. I need to keep our people safe. But all in all, life is really good. That's my news. And this is the one thing that's keeping me going, is coming in here and seeing them or being able to talk to them. This whole, talking on the computer stuff is for the birds. I mean, I really, I'm much of a hugger, as you all know. And I'll be happy when it's over with. I'll be happy when we can get back to making deals and looking at each other in the eye and doing things the way they are. But in the meantime, we'll continue to toe the line and do the best we can. One thing I am worried about, is us communicating with you all and making sure that we're doing it in the best possible way. Over the last couple of months, I've heard a couple of different commissioners, give comments. We need to be more diligent, we and you, to make sure that we get it right, because we're not meeting as often. We're not meeting in person. We don't have, when the computer shuts off, we shut off. So I'm asking you to step up if you could and manage us, tell us how we can be better partners. We really want you to have whatever information you want. And on that note is, Bill wrote something to all of us about the meetings, about having the opportunity, to, put things on the agenda. I'm going to ask you all, and I'll have Hannah send a note out to you, but by the first week of the month, knowing that the third week of the month, we're going to do everything we can to have these commission meetings. If you have agenda items that you would like put on, if by the end of the first week you could, send that in to us, we'd be more than happy to, if the information's available, to put it on the agenda and make it available, to you during the commission meetings. And again, if there's a different way to do something, we want to be open. We want you to get the information. We want you to be able to do your jobs the very best that you can. Let me see. That is about it. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Commissioners' items. Does any commissioner have anything that they'd like to bring forward?
Yeah, if I have just one quick thing to follow on what Jean had said. You had mentioned that a press release went out, and I'm finding, at least for me, and I can't speak for everybody, but in the COVID-19 world, sometimes I'm missing news items that go on in the world. So in the event that there are future press releases, can the commissioners be on the distribution list for that to make sure that we receive them?
Shelby, they're on already, aren't they?
I believe they are, but I can double check.
Yeah, if you could just do a test, we'll do a fake media thing and just let's see how that goes, Tim. We don't want you not to get it. So we'll do a test. And Hannah, also, whenever you see something come across your desk or something that's out there, either on social media or things that we put out, would you try to send anything that you can see that we may be missing to the commissioners, just so that they're staying, even if it's minutes to a meeting we're in or something? I think what I'm hearing is people want to know what we're doing, and with good reason. And so we have to be more diligent in sending out what we are doing out to folks.
Well, I'd like to bring up that, remember, in meetings past, we used to have information about flights and passengers. Maybe just a short, like Marie does, and Larry does, just give us an idea of how we're recovering from this, what our employments are looking like, what are, how many routes have we maintained and frequency of flights, because we all know that the numbers are down because of the revenues, but it might be nice to know, where are we? How are we recovering? Is it a nice and steady, or is it something that's wavy? Just if we're going to have monthly meetings, it would be nice to know if we're seeing a sort of a recovery in our employments.
So we'll do that. What I'll do, Jeff, is we'll look backwards, and we'll show you where we started to recover. I think it was in May or June, and I think it was in June. And then I'll show you right through the summer how we did, and then I'll show you how we're doing today based on numbers we're getting. And today we're back to a low of what we were pre. Nick, does that sound about right? About 2,000, a little over 2,000.
Yeah, just a little bit over 2,000 per week. Yep.
Yeah, so we hit today. I saw that, and unfortunately I was driving and almost went off the road. But it was like, getting close to that 2,000 gets me nauseous. And so we're back to those numbers, but that is typical to have our volumes drop after September, for, September, October, and then towards the end of November start picking up again when people start heading south. So it really has to do a lot now with how the rest of the country behaves. And if people do transition to the south and they do, feel that, actually the truth is Bloomberg had an article, and I'll have Hannah send that out to you, but their flying is really safe. And, if you wear a mask and you do, stay clean, Helen, you flew, and
I have twice.
you look
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm flying again.
Yeah,
In 2 weeks.
Ollie, did you fly? It's,
Yeah.
a lot of people are flying. So, what we have to do is make sure where we're going and, are you quarantining and things like that. So I'm optimistic that we're either going to adjust or we're going to get a vaccine, but one or the other. As we go into spring, we certainly are going to have an interesting winter, but I do think people that are used to going south will probably go south in quarantine and do what they have to do. I can't see a lot of the folks staying up here and living through the winter of something they're not used to. I think that's probably more dangerous, but I'm not going to get into all that. But the answer, Jeff, is we went back down again in September. We'll get you all some numbers and give you a better idea. We'll try to do that sometime tomorrow.
Okay, whenever, yeah.
We'll make that, hey, Hannah, if you could please put that on the agenda item, employments, and we'll have Andrew give the employment report every month.
All right, so I'm just looking now that our next scheduled meeting would be on the 21st of October, if I got that right. That's the third Wednesday of the month, the 21st. So that would be our next meeting if we're to hold to the third Wednesday.
And if we did do that, if we could on the week of the 5th, have any topics that people would like brought up, that would be really great. And Hannah, will you make sure that Bill knows that as well?
Yes, and I'll send out a note to everyone as a reminder.
All right. Well, thank you.
Good.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All
Do I
right.
have a second? I see Jeff did it, even though he's muted. All right. See everybody next month.
All right.
Okey
Thank you
doke.
all.
Thanks. Take
Thank
care.